Good morning. Good morning. Hope everybody's having a great, awesome morning. My name is Mike Healy, and I am your host for today's daily inspiration. If you're calling from all over the world, or you're calling, I guess I'm used to saying calling, but if you're watching from all parts of the world, I am excited to have you on here. Give me some likes down below, some hearts, because I know we're broadcasting on Zoom as well as on Facebook. And I take about 15 minutes. This is going to last probably about 15 minutes. I'm one of those guys that likes to be punctual. They said 9 o'clock. I started talking. I love the fact they have that countdown timer now. It's so cool. Really appreciate that. That's really awesome to see where we're at. So real quick, just a little bit about myself. If you're new to who I am, my name is Mike Healy again. I live in Columbus, Ohio. I am married. I'm 52 years old. I have 3 awesome kids. I'm officially the shortest guy in the house now. Everybody kind of grew up. My background originally years and years ago when I graduated high school was in the bar business. I was a bouncer for many years, and then I became a bartender because I had some kind of skills from mixed martial arts and stuff like that. So that was kind of a good fit. And it wasn't until probably I think it would have been 1997. Someone invited me to go to an opportunity meeting and said that I should take a look at it. I thought it was a job interview. And the next thing you know, I am 23 years, pretty much primarily full-time in the network marketing, direct selling industry, which has been pretty incredible. Okay. So this today, so anyhow, that's about me. Enough about me. This isn't about me. This is about you. And I want to talk to you directly, and I'm going to give you some, I know this is supposed to be this is the inspiration call, but I typically can't help myself to offer training and tips. Okay. So they had me on the tips thing about a week or two ago. But again, I think it's always good because personally myself, and you may be like this too, is I'm usually inspired when someone teaches me something that I can go immediately apply and see that I'm going to get some results from it. I think that's kind of the coolest thing that I could do for you to do this. So here's what my topic for today is I want to inspire you to create a high performance culture. Okay. And I'm going to break it down for you. I'm going to give you some homework and I'm going to go through this. Okay. Now, the other thing is I'm going to throw some stuff out here is one of the most inspiring people that I've ever known in my entire life is my pastor. And I have been I've been going to the same church for about, I think 20, 21 years, 22 years, something like that. And I've watched our church go from this little tiny little hole in the wall that was being done in an old like living room to now we have a massive facility, like nearly 5,000 members, and open another church and so on. Okay. But the reason my pastor is one of my inspirations is the fact that he was a business person, business owner, entrepreneur for years before this, and still is an entrepreneur. And he's taught a lot of really cool things on this. But here's my point. The one thing that he said that's never, there's certain things that stick out to you that you kind of get hit by lightning when you're listening to a service or something like that, or somebody gives some good stuff. And the one thing that he said to me that I heard, or said to the congregation, but it really jumped out to me, was this. He said, if you're not doing the hardest thing you've ever done, you are not growing. Okay. And the world basically rewards people who solve big problems. So in a nutshell, summarize, those are some cool things. Okay. So if you're not doing the hardest thing you've ever done, then you're typically not growing and you become stagnant. Right. So what I learned, and this is where now we're going to get to our point here, is one of the things that I learned is I had this experience in networking, and I bought into the dream. I thought it was going to be amazing. I thought if the numbers on the dry erase board really worked out, that would be awesome, right? Okay. I didn't realize you're going to probably have to put a little more work into it than I thought. But what I realized that I had done some stuff and I had some minimal success. And you may be in that situation because I know people that have been in networking for many, many years, but don't make any money. Okay. And I'm not going to talk money here. I'm just going to talk to you to take you to the next level, inspire you to go to the next level. And that has to do with culture. In 2010, I had kind of gotten out of networking because I was frustrated with what I was doing and so on. But I ran into somebody. It was kind of a really strange coincidence of how I ran into this gentleman. And he taught me something. He gave me an analogy, a story about creating culture and creating large organizations, because this was a person that was making, a lot. We'll just leave it at that. And, something that most people would aspire to. And I thought, man, this is pretty much gold. And he said that the turning point for his career and his business is when he really started to begin to focus on his culture of his group, of his culture of himself and his, kind of the environment that he created. You and I have heard this before through some of the people in corporate, especially Holton. He talks about that, the best way you can create success is to help people get into an environment that, is conducive to helping them grow, right? So anyhow, so the story was this. He went to an event in a different country. I forget what it was. It was at an event, and it got him thinking about culture. As he said that he was, it was like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. And he was at this huge hotel, big hotel, real nice, exotic hotel. And he was leaving the hotel, or he was walking outside through the kind of you go from one building to the next building. And he heard this massive commotion of people laughing and just having fun. And it was like this big giant party. And he didn't know what was going on. And he started to, he was like looking around, and he starts running to where he hears it. And it gets louder and louder and louder. And he says he runs over there, and it's this massive round swimming pool. It's like a couple hundred feet around, right? And he said the crazy thing is it looked like a washing machine that was going like this, with people just flowing in this thing. And he said that all of a sudden, without thinking, he saw people just spinning in this water, right? He said without thinking, he took off and he jumped into it. And he ruined 2 cell phones. I think, got his wallet wet and a whole 9 yards. And he finally, after it kind of slowed down, he got out of there, and he's like, he didn't even know what he had done. Okay. And he said this, and here was what the lesson was that he taught me, that he was talking about. He said, I realized the significance of creating culture because there's, in business, most people talk about the 3 C's. So there's commerce, community, and culture. Community being commerce is the product, community is the people, and culture's how you do it, how you build something, how you create momentum, right? A lot of people overlook this, but this is kind of the key that holds everything together. Is he said that what happened was he started asking after they kind of all got out of the pool. He said, what happened? He said, well, about a half hour ago, a bunch of us were just sitting here, and a couple guys got on the outside of the pool because it was a round swimming pool. He said they got on the outside of the pool, and they wanted to see if they could get this, kind of, they'd done it when they were kids or whatever. They wanted to see if they could get the water to start to move. So he said, we started out with about 10 people in the pool, and we were all walking, and the water was only by about chest high. And he said it was really hard. Like we just kept walking, and they had drinks in their hands, and they were going like this. Well, then what happened was they had 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 20, 15 people got in. And because those people were all working together, all moving in the same direction, the inertia of the water began to start to move with them. Okay, catch that. The inertia of the water began to move with them. So what happened then is more and more people heard them and saw them all going in the same direction, focusing on the same thing, working together with the same enthusiasm, right? More people began to jump in and jumped right in the same flow. They didn't go against the flow. They didn't try to reinvent the wheel. They went together. They worked together. Thanks for that post right there, that comment. They worked together. Well, what happened then is all of a sudden, without people thinking, people that they said people with that had just left like wedding parties, people that were just hanging out that weren't part of their organization or whatever, what happened is the momentum started to go like this. And because the excitement, the inertia, and the momentum, and most importantly, the jovial attitude everybody had, people just started bailing in and running as fast as they could in that direction. And pretty soon, the momentum took over the entire thing. And it was basically, and so when my friend heard the commotion, he said he ran to the commotion. He ran to where the excitement was. He ran to where the enthusiasm was, jumped in, and because the flow was already going, he really didn't have to do anything. He was picked up with that. Okay, I know that's a kind of a really odd story, but it is kind of the perfect analogy of being inspired to create a culture in your business. Okay. Because a lot of times people, they get in, they want to know, how do you, like I'm pretty decent at recruiting, right? Like that's just something I picked up. A lot of people want to know, well, what websites do you use? What videos do you use? Whatever. Believe it or not, it doesn't matter. Okay. Because those are simple things that you can do. Most people have enough skill sets to go out and get a few people involved. They can recruit a handful of people and so on. But if you really want to build a massive organization that is there for the long haul, that creates stability and a real walk away income, in my opinion, it has to do with creating community and culture is the key. Community and culture. Okay. So I know this is not supposed to be the training of the success tips, but this is a culture thing. Our company right now, if you look at it in the time frame of what we are experiencing, everybody's experiencing worldwide collectively, how is it possible that we are still growing? If you ever asked yourself this, how is it people are still breaking ranks? Do you know why? In my opinion, and I think this is fairly accurate, is it's because there is the proper culture that has already been established from day one. Because you can see, like if we're looking from the outside in, if you look at other companies similar to potentially what we do, or corporate companies, it doesn't even matter. You're going to look at the most successful ones, the ones that stay through the hard times, are the ones that have created the ultimate culture. Okay. So now, in a few minutes I have left, I want to break it down for you on a personal level, and I'm going to give you some. I'm going to give you some kind of tips, and I've got some books to show you that's going to give you some homework. Okay. Because here's the thing, I wrote this down so I didn't forget it because I thought it was fantastic. It was a training a guy gave, so I didn't make this up. I heard it. It said culture determines behavior, behavior determines results. Culture determines behavior, behavior determines results. That is such a truth that you have to always remember it. Okay. So now let's back to the inspiration. I am inspiring you, or I am trying to inspire you to make it a point to not just learn skills that you could probably learn from you could learn this type of business and what to do in about a 1 hour period. Okay. How to recruit, how to talk to a customer, we'll get you a script or whatever, that kind of thing. Right. But ultimately, if you want to take the lid off of your income, you want to take the lid off of your income and do something extraordinary, extraordinary, amazing, you have to learn culture. You have to learn how to make it an environment that people can win in. Okay. So here's your tips. I'm going to give you some books that we're going to just briefly, I'm going to do a commercial for you. I'll hold them up so you can see them. The very first book that I was ever, the very first book I ever read, I think it actually is the first book I read from like third grade, where it was like Bill and Spot, or Spot and Jane learned to read or something in third grade. But I met a guy in the very first company that I was involved in who was the number one money earner. And he was making, he probably was the first guy to ever break the 7-figure monthly earnings thing. And what appealed to me was the fact that this was a normal gentleman that came from a little town in the country that had just gotten in and done some things. But I asked him, when first time I ever got to meet him at his house, we just happened to be driving through his town, and my friend knew him, went to high school with him, and invited us over here. And this guy was making so much money, and I knew who he was, and he was like an icon, right? And I saw his bookshelf behind him when we got to talking. And I asked him this. I said, "Hey, did you read all those books?" That's pretty brilliant question, right, to somebody. And he said, "Well, yeah, not all of them, but some of them." I said, "Well, I'm brand new. What book would you recommend?" So this is me just throwing this out here. You don't have to get it. And remember, most of the stuff I'm going to show you can find on audio now. But the book that he gave me, that he told me to go get, was this. He said it was Art Williams. All you can do is all you can do, but all you can do is enough. Okay. If you're not familiar with Art Williams, Art Williams was a former football coach down in Georgia, I believe it was. And he ended up building one of the largest direct selling insurance companies in the history of mankind. Okay. I think some of you might even remember the company. We're going to name this company. It's probably not hard to figure out. But what he told me is he looked at me and he said, Mike, he had a really, really good Kentucky accent, so I'm going to use it. Mike, this here's the Bible on network marketing. Go get yourself a copy. That's how he said it. I kid you not. And I did it. And what it was kind of the basics learning. It's very, very easy to read. It's great to listen to. But he goes in here and he establishes some, I believe, pillar pieces of how to correctly build a team and some baby steps on personal development and so on. So get this one. All right. The next one, very simple read. Look how thin that is called Tribes by Seth Godin. Tribes by Seth Godin. Okay. Very simple to read. This is one of those books that I believe will take you from the mindset, again, of just getting in, recruiting in that thing. If you really want to build an organization, which is where, basically wealth comes from having leverage, it's an extremely good book to listen to read or listen to, because it obviously we know what a tribe is. A tribe will kind of lay it out for you as to what you need to do to get this thing going, the significance of it, why. So it's kind of a little more advanced than what I'm just teaching here. One more book here. I got two books I'm going to show you is this one. This one, again, came as a recommendation from a guy that was one of the most successful network marketers in the history of the industry. Sadly passed away a few years ago, called Bringing Out the Best in People by Alan Loy McGinnis. Alan Loy McGinnis. Okay. And the reason this book is so good is because we are in a people business. Okay, we're really not in a service business or a product business. We're in a people business. And if you don't learn what makes people tick, you can't necessarily build that big community and culture. This is such a good book for that. Okay, again, easy to read and so on. And the last book that I love, this is probably one of my favorites. I don't know why. It's the fact that it's a little bigger read and it's a little thicker book. As you can see, it's a little thicker. It's called Influencer. Okay, it's called Influencer, The Power to Change Anything. And I've read probably the first 4 or 5 chapters 50 times at least. And I will tell you this, that the first time I read this book, especially the first parts of it, were explained behaviors, vital behaviors, what makes people tick kind of things. So these books all go together. It inspired me to take action on those things. And I started to tweak how I was communicating with people, how I was getting people involved, what I knew those extra steps were, what I needed to reward, what I needed to emphasize that people were doing. And the next thing you know, my organization started to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and faster and faster and faster. I built a really, 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 really big organization. Okay. So all that being said is this. So here's your marching orders. You're not watching this right now because you got nothing better to do, I would assume. You're watching this because the company, iBuumerang, is already positively creating the environment for success and giving us success tips, daily inspirations, presentations, and so on, and creating that culture. When we go to events, they create that culture. You do not want to miss the convention, even though we're forced to do it virtually. You do not want to miss that because you're going to see, if you're new to the company or you just need to get that fire back, the way things are presented. Don't just look at the facts. Don't just look all the time at the services, how somebody's recruiting, what web page is they using a funnel or any of that stuff. Okay, a lot of that's good and a lot of that matters, but try to identify the important tactical things of the culture. Because if you start to see that, especially with like the leaders, like the people that are, the ranked higher, that have the bigger organizations, you're going to see that there's some of them that have pretty much mastered creating that environment and that culture for their team to succeed. Okay. So last thing I'm going to say to you guys is this, can this business be difficult? Absolutely. But if you start to create something that's worth it, is it worth it? 100%. All right. And one saying that I heard a guy say many, many times, and I'll never forget this, and it really kind of kept me going through tough times and stuff like that, was this. He said, there is a significant difference between making a living and having a life. So my name is Mike Healy. I appreciate you listening to me. Hopefully I inspired you to go out and create a good culture, build that team. And I'll tell you what, if you do today what others won't, you can live tomorrow like others can't. Thanks. And I'll see you on the other side. Peace.